Okay, here we go. Pablo Lopez. I thought this guy was going to get traded at the trade deadline last season, but here we are. It's almost 2023, and Pablo Lopez is still a Miami Marlin. But I still think there's a good chance that he could get traded. So let's take a look at the numbers real quick before we dive into some possibilities of trades. Last year, 32 starts, 180 innings pitched, a 3.75 ERA, FIP right around the same at a 3.71, healthy amount of strikeouts, right around 9 strikeouts per 9, about 2.5 walks per 9, a home run per 9. Pablo Lopez, this is a guy, he'll go into your rotation. He'll be a solid 2 or a 3 in the middle of that rotation. There's a lot of teams that could use Pablo Lopez. It won't be cheap to get him. You got about a couple of years of control with Pablo Lopez. So taking a look at baseball trade values, the best baseball trade simulator on the market, you're looking at a value right around 38, 39 million. You could go as low as 31 million, or you could go as high as 46.5, with the median being 38.7. So I got 6 teams here that I think could make some sense for a Pablo Lopez trade. Let's get to it. And one more thing to add, what could the Marlins want in return? Well, they're looking for offense. They did just add Gene Segura. I did like that move. He's going to be playing third base. So when I'm looking at the Marlins here, there's some spots where you could make an upgrade. The one spot that I see here is left field, Jesus Sanchez. This guy definitely has a lot of power potential, but he swings and misses a lot, doesn't walk a whole lot. The tools are there, but the plate discipline, the approach is not quite there. I'm more of a fan of a Brian De La Cruz. He definitely showed some good advanced metrics last year. Had a decent slash line of 432 slugging, hit 252 with 13 homers. But I think if you were to make an upgrade, I could see maybe something for left field here. You know, could you maybe do something at, something like first base or DH? Maybe you can move Garrett Cooper to DH. Jorge Soler could maybe move to left. There's a few things the Marlins could do, but I definitely think they need to add some offense. For the first trade, I have Pablo Lopez going to the Baltimore Orioles. This has been a pretty popular landing spot for Pablo Lopez, going to Baltimore, a fun team last year. Could use a bit of an upgrade in the starting rotation. Sure, you got Grayson Rodriguez coming up. You did just sign Kyle Gibson, but I think the Orioles, they could use a guy like a Pablo Lopez, another veteran arm for that rotation. I think would be pretty nice. So here's the trade that I have. Now, the Marlins in this trade would be receiving Austin Hayes. With Anthony Santander, I thought that could be a pretty good upgrade for the Marlins. But with someone like Austin Hayes, he's going to have a little bit more value because he's under more control. And I don't think the Orioles would want to get rid of Santander. I don't know. He's providing pretty good offense for them. I don't know. I feel like that's a bat they just wouldn't want to part with. But I could see maybe them wanting to part with an Austin Hayes. You got Colton Cowser coming up eventually for the Orioles. And then I got a couple of prospects here. Beavers and Norby. If we take a look here, Dylan Beavers is their number 8. And if we take a look at Norby, where in the world is Norby? Where are you? There you are. Connor Norby, number 11. So you're looking at number 8 and maybe number 11. And remember, with all of these trades, you can switch guys in and out. I'm just looking really more at the values of these guys. But I think the Orioles, they could definitely put together a package for Pablo Lopez. For the next trade, I have Pablo Lopez going to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Look at the Arizona Diamondbacks making some moves, trading away Dalton Varsho. I love me some Dalton Varsho. He's going to be a great addition for the Toronto Blue Jays. But in return, they got Gabriel Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. So you could technically still part with one of these outfielders. You got Corbin Carroll. I don't think they're going to trade him, but could you maybe part with someone like a Jake McCarthy or an Alek Thomas? I think they probably will end up hanging on to Alek Thomas. He was a very high prospect last year. Got his feet wet a little bit in the majors last year. But I think in the end, someone more like Jake McCarthy is a bit more expendable. Alek Thomas, I think, has a bit more upside. But Jake McCarthy, I think, could be a pretty decent bat for the Marlins to add. So let's take a look at this trade. Going to the D-backs, we got Pablo Lopez. And for the Marlins, they get Jake McCarthy, and they also get Ciccone and Lynn, a couple of pitching prospects in their system. I think this would be a pretty nice trade for both sides. The Marlins get a bat. The Diamondbacks get a guy for the rotation. I feel like they could use one more guy here. Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, both had solid seasons last year. Pablo Lopez would be a very nice addition in the number 2 spot for this rotation. For the next trade, how about the Colorado Rockies? This is probably the most oddball one of them all, but I think the Rockies could make some noise when it comes to acquiring someone like a Pablo Lopez. The Rockies, if you go back the last couple of off seasons, they've made some pretty big moves. They traded Nolan Arenado, say what you will about that trade, but still a blockbuster move on their part. And then the next offseason, they go ahead and sign Chris Bryant. Who saw the Rockies doing that? Why couldn't the Rockies go make some kind of a move? They're kind of like they're just that weird guy that's at a party that's hanging in the back. He's kind of just listening. He's eyeballing. He's people watching. That's the Rockies here. So the Rockies, I mean, listen, I like some of their players here in this lineup. I like the Rockies, man. And Chris Bryant, obviously, he was definitely hurt last year, but if he gets back to being healthy, this would be a very productive lineup with him right in the middle of it. But they could use another guy for this rotation. Definitely could use an upgrade. I mean, taking a look here, the lowest ERA they had last year was a 4.53. That is just abysmal. But another reason, too, is the Marlins and the Rockies have talked. They talked about Edward Cabrera and Brendan Rodgers. So they have been making phone calls with each other, but why not just do Pablo Lopez? The Rockies, they're just that oddball team that would just make these kind of moves. So Pablo Lopez going to the Rockies. For this one, I have them sending over Brendan Rodgers. Now, I know the Marlins, they got a bit of a logjam when it comes to infielders, but you can always move guys around, maybe shift a guy to the outfield, whatever. But Brendan Rodgers, I think, would be a fun young player for the Miami Marlins. And going back in this trade as well, Austin Gomber, he came back in the Nolan Arenado trade. That could just fill the hole in the rotation. And then a couple of prospects. Sterling Thompson. Hey, this guy played college ball at Florida. So, going back to the Marlins, going back to Florida. So, then we got Gabriel Hughes, drafted a couple of years ago. Now, again, not saying these have to be the players, but, you know, maybe similar values. You can switch some guys out. I think the Rockies could be pretty interesting in the Pablo Lopez sweepstakes. For the next team, how about the Minnesota Twins? When you're looking at the Twins rotation, it is looking a little full with Gray, Ryan, Maile, Maeda's coming back, and Bailey Ober had himself a pretty good season last year. But they ran into some issues in the second half last year. They had some depth issues. They were falling apart. I think someone like a Pablo Lopez, a constant like him who can eat some innings, I think would be really nice for this rotation, you know, especially with Kenta Maeda. He hasn't pitched in a long time. You know, I don't know where you move guys. Maybe you could put someone in the bullpen. I'm not sure. But I think Pablo Lopez could be a nice addition for the Minnesota Twins. And the Twins do got someone that has been in trade talks this offseason. They got someone they could send back to the Marlins in Luis Ariz, where this guy makes a ton of contact. The Marlins have been looking for contact hitters. I think he'd be a great addition. You know, could play first. Cooper, move him to DH. Jorge Soler, maybe move him to left field. I don't know what you do there. But either way, you can move guys around. A couple more prospects in this deal. We got Festa and Julian. David Festa is number 11, and Julian is number 14. Actually, Julian had himself a pretty good year at AA last year, hitting 300 with a 441 on base, a 490 slugging, 17 homers, 19 stolen bases. I don't know, maybe the Twins don't want to give him up, but maybe you could switch him out with another prospect or maybe a couple more prospects. But I think the Twins could be a pretty decent landing spot for Lopez. Up next, I have the LA Dodgers. When it comes to trade talks, you always have to remember the LA Dodgers. They got prospects for days. They're trying to win now. They're always in win now mode. And I think Pablo Lopez could be a pretty good addition for this rotation. You know, Clayton Kershaw, Urias Gonsolin, they just signed Syndergaard and Dustin May. Dustin May came back late last year after getting Tommy John. Could he end up maybe being like the sixth man, the swing man in this rotation? And Lopez could be, you know, a good solid number 3 in the middle of this rotation. That would be very good depth for the LA Dodgers. And they got prospects for days. They could definitely make a deal happen. Now, you know, major league ready guys, you know, who could they send back? If, you know, someone that could help the Marlins offense now. I mean, I don't know. I don't really see a whole lot of guys that you could maybe send back now. Maybe someone like a James Outman. I feel like they would want to hang on to him possibly, but that is a guy you could send back for the Marlins where he could go play some left field. You know, what do you do with the Jesus Sanchez? I'm not quite sure. He ends up maybe being the 4th outfielder, but James Outman did have a fun season last year in a very small sample size. That could be a guy that you could send back that is major league ready. But the package that I put together, I just put together 3 prospects here. Pages would be leading the way, one of their higher prospects. Andy Pages, a big power bat, could be a fun player for the Marlins down the road. And we have a couple more prospects here, Donkin and Nastrini. Either way, with the Dodgers, you can plug guys in. You could add more guys, you know, take out Nastrini, maybe put in a couple lower level prospects, whatever. But the Dodgers, when it comes to trades, you can never count them out. And last but not least, how about the San Diego Padres? The Padres are always making trades. I don't know where they get all these prospects from. I don't know how they get these deals done most of the time, but they find a way to make it work. Pablo Lopez, I think could be a really nice addition for the Padres here. If we take a look at the rotation, you got Darvish, Musgrove, Snell, Martinez, and Lugo, who you just signed. But hey, you can always find a way to fit in someone that can give you a good, solid 180 innings in a season. Could you just move Lugo to the bullpen? Could you move Martinez to the bullpen? I think that's possible as well. But I think Lopez would be great for the San Diego Padres. And rumors are that they are listening to offers on guys like Ha-Seong Kim and Trent Grisham. So I went with Trent Grisham here because I feel like it would be much easier for the Marlins to add an outfielder, and you can move Jesus Sanchez to the bench. Grisham, sure, he had a bit of a down season last year when it came to the slash line, but there's always a bit of a power bat. He's going to give you good defense. He's going to give you a little speed as well. So the trade I got here, we got Grisham, we got Mazur. Adrian Morejon, this is a guy that I feel like has been kind of forgotten about a little bit with the Padres. Had Tommy John recently, but he came back last year. And then Savala as well. So I feel like the Padres, I mean, again, like I said about the Dodgers, this is a team you always got to watch out for when it comes to trades. I think the Padres, I think they could yet again make another trade here. But these are the possibilities that I came up with for Pablo Lopez. Tell me what you think down below in the comments. Did I leave off any teams? Let me know in the comments. What do you think of these trades? I understand not everyone's going to agree on the players that I put in these trades. So instead of, bashing on the trades, let me know. Tell me who are some players that you would switch in and out. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. But that's all I have for right now, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.